What's up, fine folks? Welcome back. It's episode 10 of Double Tapped. I'm Jay.
I'm Tanner.
Tanner, it is about as bright and summery as it has been all year.
Yeah.
We're probably going to drink a considerable more amount today, so I wanted something nice and light.
Yeah, we're just
and
going...
what better than the thing where all the commercials are athletes?
That's true. Michelob Ultra.
It's a Mick Ultra. Can
Not
never
sponsored,
go wrong.
but still delicious. Maybe if I took a grand total of my life,
Sure.
maybe my most what's the past tense of partake?
Partaken?
Partook in?
No way, it's partooken. It's not a turducken.
No, I mean, the beer I've had most.
I know partaken is a word,
right?
But I don't know if that's the proper.
Partaken in? Would that be the phrase?
Have partaken in? Yeah, I think
so too.
Anyway, I don't know anything about participles anymore or whatever kind of word that would be.
Yeah.
Tanner, I've changed the name of this segment just for a week.
Okay.
Instead of what you playing, how's Returnal going?
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Returnal. I've played probably 8 hours this week. Last we left off, I was struggling to get past the third biome. Mm-hmm. I've now, in one fell swoop 2 nights ago, I beat the third biome boss, and in the same life, beat the fourth biome boss. My biggest accomplishment so far.
Which I love that we both beat. I'll spoil the name of that particular boss, Hyperion.
Yeah.
On the first try.
Yeah.
It's just kind of odd.
It's a crazy fight.
It's an awesome fight.
It's really, that's my favorite moment of that game so far.
Yeah.
So to explain it a little bit, I guess minor spoilers for Returnal.
It's been a little while, so we can get into some of the details.
If you don't want to spoil, we'll do like a spoiler cast whenever I beat
Once
it.
you beat it, we'll go into full depth.
Hopefully next week. But this boss fight, I'm just going to talk about the structure of it. It's really cool because you're going through this level and you hear music, and basically the journey to the fight is ascending or going through the level and then ascending a little tower. And once you're at the top of the tower, there is all of the bosses kind of look like somewhere between an alien and like a hell spawn kind of beast, similar to like Doom enemies in a way. And there's this thing playing a grass like plant organ.
Yeah.
And its attacks primarily are out of its back while it plays its own boss music.
It looks almost like two big nostrils or something.
Yeah.
That like exude all of its attacks.
Yeah.
Which is a ridiculous fight.
It's I went back and watched it because it's cool. One of the cool things about that game is similar to Souls games is if you do the boss correctly, it's not that long of a fight.
No.
It's like 3-4 minutes, but if you have, proper weapons and stuff. But
speaking of, I want to acknowledge that you and I have both a particular affinity for the electropylon
that
driver.
That's awesome.
Like as I've played the game more, especially like in the end game where I'm just sort of doing a lot of things, just grinding really.
Yeah.
I find that gun particularly useful because I can just fire a couple shots and then forget about the enemy that I was shooting at, focus on another, and know that it's still... Once you get the sense of how much damage that gun does...
Over time,
then I can shoot 2 shots at this enemy, and even though I know it's not dead yet, I know it will be.
Yeah.
And then if you know that enemy can get stun locked, that enemy's pretty much done for already.
Right.
So that gun, I don't know, it's not like it saves me time, but it saves me mental energy in a weird way that I really like.
And it's great for boss fights too, because a lot of those boss fights are just weaving in and out. I will say I've hit sort of a wall. You said you hit sort of a similar wall.
The same wall.
And it's in the 5th biome. I don't know how many biomes there are. I assume 6, but I'm not sure. Maybe 7. There might be like a 7th final biome. But the pacing of the game seems to lead me that direction. But yeah, we'll have more to talk about probably next week. But I'm getting close.
You are very close. I look forward to getting into all the weird minutia and seeing your theories evolve. Your theories about the story has been interesting up to this point and will continue to be so.
Yeah, the story is really cool, and I have theories, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, and just to sort of catch up, because it's all I've been playing too, I lack 1 trophy.
Nice.
1 singular biome. The second biome is the only biome that I do not have the full survey trophy done for.
Yeah.
I think I literally am missing 3 of the ciphers, and that's it.
That's not bad.
And I was almost, because we were texting back and forth last night, and I was like, I'm not going to get it tonight, because I knew it would take me, I don't know how many more runs because it's all randomized. But then I almost thought that I was like, I told you I woke up very early this morning, not of my own volition,
right?
But my body just decided to.
Yeah. And
I started playing this game at like 7:15 this morning just because I was bored.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's a chance I could platinum it this morning.
Right.
And I think I found 3 or 4 of the ciphers and got to the point that I am. But I really wanted to be like, I didn't platinum it last night. I platinumed it this morning.
Yeah,
but
that's
no,
nice.
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it'll happen this week at some point.
Yeah, and then we can come back and discuss.
Tanner, let's talk about some news.
Yeah.
A little bit of a hiccup there, but it's no big deal. We'll hiccup more later, probably.
Don't address it so I can edit it. No, it's fine. We, for some reason, I'm just going to say it. The OBS just stopped recording. I don't know if I accidentally hit the space bar or something, but...
We're a small team. Things happen.
Yeah, for real.
So the first story was about the return of a maybe beloved cult-like classic maybe thing.
Yeah.
Timesplitters.
Yes.
Timesplitters is coming back from the original dev team under the umbrella of Deep Silver.
Okay.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I hope that the people who do care are excited.
Yeah, me too. Deep Silver, what all is under their production label? Because you mentioned...
I don't know. I'll look it up.
They did like Saints Row, right?
Yes.
They're publishers of that. They published the Masters Agents of Mayhem. What was that name of that game? It was...
That rings a bell.
I think that was a game that existed for a little bit. Yeah, it's very interesting to see a game revive that I feel like could have been a big E3 announcement. Like, I feel like it could have made, like, an Xbox's show. It probably would have made some people pop, but weird that they're just kind of announcing. Did they announce it formally, or is it just like a report?
I believe it was formally announced.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And also, I feel like we're back to the same conundrum where I'm just trying to figure out whether they publish these games or actually develop these games, because there are a lot of games.
Yeah.
And I also think I have them slightly confused, and maybe I've had these two brands melded in my head, but Deep Silver and THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic is the one that has just like assembled a ridiculous amount of
IP.
What?
They basically,
I won't even say D-list, but like E-list IP.
Well, they took all of what used to be THQ, a company that failed, and were like, actually, we're going to take that on. I don't know why because they were just called Nordic for a while.
Right.
And then they adopted the THQ name. I guess they just wanted to keep that going. And I guess THQ does have a bit of cachet for people who maybe played games in like the PS2 era. But if you played wrestling games, THQ. It's in the game. I don't know why I did it in the EA Sports voice, but... Okay,
so it says that the most notable franchises published by Deep Silver include the Metro games.
Okay.
Saints Row.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the first... Well, I guess the second one never did come out, but Dead Island.
Right.
That's a fun old memory of the game. The Homefront, Homefront 2, I guess, not Homefront 1. And, I guess then when they brought back Shenmue 3.
Oh.
Interesting. They've got their hands in a lot of baskets.
Yeah. Is that a phrase? Hands in a lot of baskets?
That's a good question. I got their hands in a lot of cookie jars.
Yeah.
But I guess if you caught with your hand in the cookie jar...
How many hands do you have?
Hold on, what are they... Hands... They've definitely got their hands in something. That is a phrase. Hands in something.
Yeah, you get your hand in the cookie jar.
You're caught with your hand in the cookie jar. What phrase are we am I trying to reach here?
I don't know. You've got, there's a lot of food on your plate. That's one.
That's apt as well.
They have a lot of, what did you say originally?
Hands in a lot of baskets is what I said.
Is that kind of a flip of like, don't put all your eggs in one basket?
Maybe.
So they have their eggs in a lot of baskets, maybe, was what you're going for?
But you can't have your eggs in a bunch of different baskets.
Yeah, if you have multiple eggs.
Well, not if you're a chicken.
Wait, what? Chickens don't put eggs in baskets.
Unless the basket is like under them to start with.
Wait, what? How would they get the chicken out?
I'm going to figure... I can't... My brain is too like...
This is a better start anyway.
Absolutely. And I can't diversify my brain power enough to think about what this phrase is and for us to keep going. But I will think of it.
Hands
Hopefully.
in a lot of baskets.
Who cares? Timesplitters coming back. Let's talk about Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
They've decided on a couple of things. Mm-hmm. They've decided they're moving to a 5-on-5 format,
which is wild.
And they've decided that it's going to look exactly like Overwatch 1.
Yeah. So we briefly discussed this, but I'm really curious. I was actually talking about this on stream.
I'm going to find this phrase.
Yeah, I will. You're so involved. Look at him. Look at the face of focus over here. If you're watching the video version,
makes my life.
Yes, yeah.
And ideally, I wouldn't be Googling it. It would just come to me, and I would feel like I accomplished something today. But sometimes you just got to do it.
But with Overwatch, I was talking about this on stream last night. The move to 5v5 seems sort of arbitrary. Like, I don't really get why they're moving to that. And the structure of Overwatch right now is like 2 healer, 2 attack, 2 defense. It used to be like 2 healer, tank, attack, and then I forgot what they called the other one. But anyway, the 5v5 nature of it. Did you get there?
Well, no, but we keep going, and we'll come back to this.
The 5v5 switch seems super just out of nowhere and unnecessary, and I worry for the Overwatch League professionals who every starting lineup is losing a position now. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really get it. It seems like Overwatch 2 is a bit of a cash grab because it doesn't seem like they're changing that much. And also there's this weird integration with Overwatch 1 where the multiplayer might be cross game. And therefore, why would you get Overwatch 2? Like, I don't understand the buying sort of directive of that game.
I agree. And if, like I said before, unless they announce a lot of new features, new characters, new maps, something for 2,
yeah,
I'm either going to re-download 1 or never touch either one of them again.
Right, yeah.
Tanner, I figured it out.
Okay.
The phrase that I was reaching for was, they wear a lot of hats.
Okay.
However, there are other phrases. I've found a Reddit thread here.
Yeah.
Someone was asking, what's the phrase? It goes something like, they have their hands in many pots.
Oh,
which
that
apparently
makes sense.
is a phrase.
Okay.
But
so that's
there are also some different permutations of this phrase.
Uh-huh.
They have their finger in many pies.
Okay, I've heard that one.
They got a lot of balls in the air.
That's a good one.
Their brush swipes are all over the palette.
Oh, so they're just doing a lot. Yeah, that makes sense.
And another one that I like, which is they have a lot of irons in the fire.
Irons in the fire is another good one. Yeah.
But I definitely think wears a lot of hats is the one that I was trying to think of.
It somehow that became they have hands and a lot of baskets.
It phonetically sounds relatively similar.
I have to tell you a story now.
Okay.
This is just off the rails. I once went to a University of Kentucky recruiting event. Go Cats. But it was one of those C Blue events or whatever you go to in high school. And for some reason, I can't remember if is his name Capoletto? Capilouto. I can't remember if he was there, if it was a video. It was probably a video of him. But in that, they described him as wearing a lot of hats as president. And so I was there with Andrew, and they gave us a little notebook. So I just drew him and just kept adding hats to the drawing.
Yeah. I have personally seen him wear 2 hats.
What? Why?
Because, okay, for everyone, I went to the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
At graduation, he wore one of those very, honorable, beanie-looking hats.
Yeah.
Not like the graduation hat
Like a
itself.
Shakespearean hat.
Exactly. And I was at a University of Kentucky football game and saw... This is good. Okay, here's another little story, if you want.
Not 2 hats at the same time.
No, of course not.
You said it like you had.
No,
I've seen him wear 2 hats.
Unique hats at 2 separate times.
Okay.
First of all, he's a very small man.
Yeah,
if he was wearing 2 hats, he'd almost be eaten by 2 hats. The other time was at a University of Kentucky football game.
Yeah.
He was walking up on the stairs next to where I was sitting, and these 2 girls that I was with, he greets one of them. First of all, I think she snuck in. She snuck in.
Okay.
I don't think she had a ticket.
Yeah.
So they're he's just talking. He's hey, he's hope you're staying warm, having a good time, something like that.
Yeah.
And he leaves. This girl from somewhere in the Northeast.
Okay.
She's like, who was that? I'm like, that was the president of the university. She's like, what? And
just some random old dude comes up to her and she's like, hi.
Yeah. He's 5'4".
Oh, wow.
He's
I didn't realize
very
he was
small.
That short. I knew he was small. He looks like a man who could be blown away in a strong wind.
I believe it. Tanner, let's move on to our next news story.
Yeah.
One that we barely touched on, and we've ruined the surprise of it for you.
Yes.
But there's a Souls-like game coming out called Lies of P that is set in Victorian Europe or something, and it is loosely based on the story of Pinocchio.
Which is what?
It's Souls-like. That's pretty much, you put that phrase on anything and I'm at least
excited,
cursorily interested.
Speaking of which, have you played Remnant from the Ashes?
No, I've heard of it.
So that game I think is a Souls-like but with guns.
Interesting.
So semi-Returnal-ish, maybe? I think you could describe some elements of Returnal as Souls-like.
Oh, sure.
I definitely have a lot of the same feelings when I play them.
I think the biggest through line that I would call Souls-like in terms of like a trope, is like bonfires or some sort of like checkpoint throughout the world where you go and you hit here and then you die and then you go back and you keep going. We're not even going to talk more about Lies of P until we hear more about it or see anything about it.
I was looking into the dev and I can find nothing.
Yeah.
Except for they are releasing another game called Bless Unleashed.
Cool.
Which looks bad.
What in the heck is that?
It looks like a game made in dreams. I'm going to show the video version here. That's some sort of UI over top of it, but
it kind of looks like the most ripped. Well, it's somewhere between Kenna Bridge of Spirits, and Final Fantasy, except bad. Like, Although I guess Final Fantasy,
Okay, all of their tweets are that same image.
There's like 3 in a row. There's 4, 5. Oh my lord! Whoa! Oh, it's all this.
There's finally no, still going.
Start talking about Lies of P. That's what I care about. A little.
It's a weird aside that was exciting for just us, but
we got 2 more stories.
All right.
The first of which is the most Nintendo thing to ever happen.
Oh, okay.
Did you see anything about Skyward Sword HD this week?
No.
Apparently. And this is based on... Okay, so the story itself is that you have to buy a $25 Amiibo if you would like to fast travel in Skyward Sword HD.
I saw people tweeting about this. I didn't know it was about Skyward Sword.
And someone reached out to Nintendo. I don't know if they tweeted at one of the developers or one of the executives.
Yeah.
And they were basically like, hey, you can still fast travel if you don't buy this, right?
Yeah.
And their answer was not encouraging for the idea that you would be able to fast travel without it.
Jesus.
And I'm like, that is chef's kiss of Nintendo pissing people off.
Yeah. They are the most perplexing. Like, I'm currently reading Console Wars, which is about Sega and Nintendo's sort of early
Who's
genesis.
That author?
Oh, God.
I would know it if you said it.
BJ something, I think. Or no,
I'll look it up.
I feel like there's an initial, maybe. It's funny, I'm reading the book right now and I can't tell you. But Nintendo has an interesting... I just got to the part where Nintendo gets started. And they've always been kind of quirky. Obviously, people know they were like a card company before they got into video games. And they just have always been really perplexing. Like, you feel like if you made as many IP that are really beloved as Nintendo, you could just live off that forever.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that hard, and yet they always make it hard on themselves.
Absolutely. It's Blake J. Harris.
Oh, that's why BJ was in my head. Okay.
Go.
It's really good so far. It's a very easy read.
I've heard nothing but good things. And I've heard nothing but bad things about this idea from Nintendo.
Yes.
So I am out on this game. I was never in on it. But.
So we've talked about this, but I've played through most of the Zelda games now. I stopped playing Twilight Princess to play Returnal. Probably not going to return to Twilight Princess. I was not having a lot of fun. I did not know that you turn into a wolf in that game, and the wolf sections suck. Now, apparently they're almost done in my playthrough or whatever, but I don't see myself going back to it. Wind Waker was great, and as far as I'm concerned, that may be the last one I play for a little while. I still want to play Link's Awakening because it's like Link to the Past, but Skyward Sword, I was already like, oh, it has motion controls. I don't know if this is going to be good, and now this is a thing.
Yeah.
And I can imagine not having fast travel is going to be so annoying. Just having to go everywhere, like on foot, is going to suck.
Tanner, let's talk about our final story. The one that we were undoubtedly the most excited about.
Okay.
The Last of Us 2 just got a patch to boost it to 60 frames on PS5.
Yeah.
Finally, this is one of the ones that you were waiting on before we ever replayed the game.
Yeah, I think we talked about it yesterday. Or not yesterday, last podcast.
Yeah.
It's a welcome sight.
It was inevitable.
Yeah, for sure. Does this make you want to replay it immediately?
Not immediately.
Right.
I don't know what necessarily I'm going to do as far as what I'm going to play next and then pick up on The Last of Us somewhere down the line.
Right.
There's definitely other things that have talked about playing here in the next little bit. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. It's on the next 5 games or so that I'm going to play.
Sure. Yeah, I think I finally, because what I did Last of Us 2 to avoid spoilers because they were rampant, was I recorded my playthrough and uploaded that on YouTube. So I've never streamed it.
Right.
So I want to stream it at some point, and this will probably be the thing that finally spurs me in that direction.
Gosh, I cannot wait to watch the intro to that game on PS5 in all its glory.
Oh yeah, it was already breathtaking, and now it's so
weird to me to think and I guess I noticed it at the time that it wasn't already running at 60 frames.
Yeah.
But like, I guess I wasn't thinking about it. Like,
right. You weren't as cognizant of it as you are now.
No, and it's so weird to me now to think that some games that look like 30 frames now looks bad to me.
Yeah.
And I don't like that about myself.
Well, that's funny. I think that's intentional on the part of like console developers, because this generation there hasn't been a huge graphical leap, but there has been a leap in resolution and frame rate. So that's been the selling point. And it's really funny to me, as someone who like dabbles in the PC gaming community too, to see console gamers become PC gamers with frame rate. It's like, oh, we now want the highest frame rate. Like our buddy Skinny was like, can I get a high refresh rate monitor for or for MLB The Show? Like, it's funny to see that evolution happening with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I still have not, I don't think, personally witnessed anything running at like 120 frames per second.
I can show you.
But do I want to see that?
And then be tainted by it?
Yeah. Because I feel like 60 is now my like threshold for like smoothness.
Yes.
Where, like, as long as it's 60, it seems smooth. Right. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
But I have heard that the jump to 120 would you say it's as jarring or different as 30 to 60?
No.
Okay.
I think it, at least to my eyes, and granted, the most stuff that I play on PC is like Rocket League. It's way more noticeable in like a shooter, obviously.
Where that stuff matters the most.
But like the jump from 60 to 120, you notice it. You can definitely tell. Like if my monitor is accidentally on 60 or the game's accidentally on 60, I can feel it. Even if it's not like an inherent like, oh, it just feels sluggish in a way. But then like from 120 to what my monitor can do, which is 165, that's not that big of a jump. Like you can tell, but it's not that, like you have to be looking for it.
You probably don't know the answer to this question, but I'd be curious of what is the human eye even capable of perceiving?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know
how many frames per second is life? I would like to know.
Yeah. I know some monitors go up to 240. That's the thing that I think I've heard
like
the most
overkill.
of. Yeah, it is. And most games you have to have a baller PC to be able to run that.
Yeah.
But
well, I will maybe take you up on your offer just because I want to know. But I also don't want to be...
Oh, for 120?
I don't want to see that and be like, well, time to buy something new because I'm now spoiled. Tanner, should I expect to hear Fat Lip this week?
No. Okay. No reset era. You're ruining the fun by asking about it.
Well, I don't want to be like jarred and like throw my beer off the table.
That's the fun of it.
That's true.
It's the surprise.
Well, let's then jump right into our big topic of the week.
Yes.
So this is going to be... It's kind of like story time.
Is this mine?
Yeah. That is yours. It's kind of like the story time we went into a few weeks ago, but this one is going to be specifically trophy time.
Yes.
And we're going to tell some of our stories about what I call for myself, the lost trophies.
Right.
The trophies that I wish that I could have gotten, and for one reason or another, I did not. And then some of our proudest trophy moments.
Yes.
So... Shall I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to start with the lost trophies.
Okay.
So we'll start negative and we'll end positive.
Okay.
The first lost trophy, and I think mine are actually in order of most recent to least to most in the past.
Okay.
The most recent one that I picked up on that was a trophy that it hurts me that I don't have it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remastered. There is a trophy in that game that is basically reach level 100 of experience.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound overly daunting. It doesn't sound crazy.
Depends on the game.
Until you realize that, okay, the main way that you get experience in Tony Hawk is by doing challenges, certain things that get you experience points in bulk.
Right.
Just playing a map in like a 2-minute time trial or whatever gets you a fraction of the experience points that you would get by completing a challenge.
Sure.
I completed pretty much, I want to say, every single challenge in the game.
Okay.
At least every challenge there are some challenges that are tied specifically to the skaters themselves.
Okay.
I completed most of those. I want to say I completed almost all of those, at least the ones where like do their signature trick. You get like certain points for that.
Yeah.
I completed all of that and was at level like 60 something.
Ugh.
So that would have meant, effectively, based on what I read online, going into one particular map that was laid out well enough that you could do everything in a 2-minute time trial that gives you a unique number of points.
Okay.
Which is still It would have taken me doing that same map over and over again for like 2 hours a day for months.
Yes.
To get to level 100.
Jesus.
So I just said no. I'm not going to do this.
At some point, you got to draw the line.
If they ever patch in more challenges,
sure,
I will 100% go back and do those.
Yeah.
And if I can even get to like within 10 levels of 100,
then it might be
maybe
worth the
then
grind.
I'll be worth the grind because I wanted that trophy badly.
Yeah.
Because I love those games so dearly.
Yeah, I remember you grinding for it
wanted
too.
to support them so much, but yeah,
Thank you.
But yeah, that's a painful. That one stings a little bit.
Yeah, I hate trophies like that. I'm going to talk about one that I do have, but it's very similar, and I kind of categorize a little more plainly with good trophies and bad trophies.
Sure,
this is a bad trophy, even though I have it. I'm just bringing this up now because it was like third on my list, but
yeah,
it's very similar to what you just said. Rayman Legends. This you knew this was coming.
Yeah.
This is the hardest trophy I have probably, even though it's not my rarest trophy, which is interesting. So, in Rayman Legends, there is a certain number of like collectibles. There's lums, which are like the currency. Then there's also, forgive me, I've forgotten what like the actual collectible guys are, but they're like hidden off in different paths and stuff. So you can get a number of those, and each level you get like so many, and that raises your quote unquote level of awesomeness.
Oh,
that's the actual.
I didn't realize
like
that was the metric.
Yeah, that was the leveling system, and you do all the single player thing. I 100% the single player. I love the single player of that game, and then you realize like, oh, there's still more like left on my level meter, and basically there are 4 challenges, 2 per day, 2 per week. So like 2 cycle every day, 2 cycle every week.
Right.
And you can either get a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum rating on each of those levels. And each of the whatever trophy you get in that, whatever like rating you get in that leaderboard thing, which is online against everybody who plays that game, then that gives you a certain amount of points toward your awesomeness level. You have to get to level 11, which doesn't sound like a lot.
It doesn't.
But each level is like thousands of points, and a bronze is worth like 1 or 2, and then like a silver's worth 5, gold's worth 10, platinum's worth like 50. The platinums, once I got back into this, because I played it in college when it first came out, around when it first came out, didn't really get back into it to hunt trophies until a couple years later. At that point, the only people playing that game are people who love Rayman Legends. And therefore, since the leaderboards are sort of scaled to who have completed the level, it makes all of them incredibly difficult to get. And so I never once got like a platinum rating. And these are challenges I would play for an hour or 2 every day. And it literally took me, I think, 4 years to get the trophy. Granted, it was on and off. It wasn't every day. But whenever I had time, I would just grind, do my 2 levels a day, make sure I had the weekly ones, and then go play something else. So it just started every day. I wanted to sit down at my PlayStation playing that game. I would never want to do it again.
Yeah.
I would never wish it on anyone. And it sucks because that game is really fun from a trophy standpoint until that trophy.
Yeah.
And I just wish it wasn't scaled to other people. That being said, I got very good at that game.
I'm sure.
Just from trying to beat other people who are very good at that game. Like, those are people who speedrun the game, and the challenges ranged from, like, beat certain level in a certain amount of time, and you would this is like, I've never played a, like, racing game super heavily, but I imagine this is what they're like, where it's like, you have to get a fraction of a second better to get a better ranking, and it's just like, collect as many of these lums as fast as you can. Collect the most lums. Some of them were go the longest distance. So you're going like thousands of meters in the game to even get to like a silver. It was crazy.
I think the main takeaway for any game developers out there watching this podcast after this segment is going to be that tread lightly when it comes to trophies tied to the online in any way.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about more of that.
Yeah. Because definitely some of mine come into play there as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's something like that where like your points are based on scaled rankings or whatever, or whether it's just play X number of matches.
Yes.
Because if someone takes a break and then all of a sudden your player base dwindles significantly, and they're not able to find a match, like, some people care a lot more about the trophies than actually playing your multiplayer.
Yes.
So this one's single player, the next one that I'll tell you about. Tanner, we all know I love golf.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So
I saw some golf game, by the way, when we were doing the last week, when it was like the games we both played, let's give them review scores. I saw some golf game I had never heard of that you had played. It was like the Golf Club. Was that the
Golf
name?
Club 2019. Got that platinum.
You did, and I was like, "What the hell is this game?"
That game sort of arose in the wake of like the hiatus where EA was no longer making their annual PGA Tour game, and before 2K started making theirs.
Okay. Was this the game that 2K bought the studio of?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the game that I'm going to tell you about right now is 2K21 PGA Tour, which is the same developer, just scaled up a little bit. They added some more content, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But to me, the trophy that was insanely difficult to get in this game that I never did is shoot par or better on an official course on Legend difficulty.
Jeez.
Now, that might not sound terribly hard, especially if you don't know anything about golf lingo.
Yeah.
To give you a brief rundown of golf lingo, every course in golf is designed to take a set number of shots to beat, to complete.
Yeah.
Typically, it's 72. Now, in real life, I have never shot par or better.
Right.
Par being that number of shots.
Yeah.
I've never shot 72 or less. In this game, it's saying shoot 72 or less on the highest difficulty. Tanner, I might have a better shot in real life.
Oh, wow.
It is so hard.
Jesus.
Like, every little minute movement of the stick messes up your shot.
Oh, wow.
Sends it flying one way or another.
Yeah.
And you can even manipulate every other part of the course. Because you can just play like a play now, one round course on any course. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can play on the furthest up tees. So significantly shortening all the holes. So you can drive every green that's on a par 4, like pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's so sensitive that I end up hitting shots out of bounds.
Jesus.
My shots are ending up in the rough and like all kinds of like all over the place.
Oh wow.
Like it is stupid. I don't know why anyone would play a golf video game on that level of difficulty.
Right, when it's harder than actual golf.
Yeah, that's exaggerating a little bit. Like I could absolutely probably I would rather, if I could take my scores from this video game on Legend difficulty and apply it to my real life golf game, I probably would. It's probably 5 shots on average better. But that's not a lot, really.
Right, yeah.
For me being what I would call like, among people who play golf, I'm like average. Like, so that was so frustrating, and I'm like, this is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, I'll play 1,000 rounds on any difficulty.
Right, before you do that.
If you could just give me this trophy before I would do that.
Yeah.
So.
It's a missed... I don't understand the... Sometimes trophies are too walled by difficulty. Sometimes they're good, where it's like it makes you try stuff, but other times, like, that just sounds just miserable.
Yeah.
And I don't think... Also, I'm surprised that the PS4 can capture that sensitive of movement in the controller.
Like, because it shows when, if you've played ever a golf game, you know how typically you're just taking a stick, moving it back for your backswing, moving it forward for your front swing.
Yeah.
On the TV that you're playing it on, it shows you the lines.
Right.
So, like, you can see the lines, and there's a center line, and mine are, if I'm doing it super, well, I didn't even talk about, you can even do it perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
But if you do it too slow, it goes one way or another.
Oh,
if you do it too
wow.
fast, it goes one way or another. Like,
jeez, yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how sensitive it is.
Okay, speaking of online multiplayer, as we were earlier, 2 of mine are that way. One of them being a trophy you have.
Really?
Which is True Commitment. Reach level 60 in multiplayer in Tomb Raider.
I'll talk about it on my proudest trophy moments here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason that it's in mine is because I didn't play the Tomb Raider reboot from 2013 until last year.
Yeah, you didn't even have anybody to boost with.
Right. I tried to even like open it up because I was like, if I can get some of these, I'll finish the trophies out. And you literally just cannot find a match. Servers are still open, I think, but finding a match is impossible.
Yeah.
So
I'll talk about this in more detail when it comes back around, but to say that would, I can't even imagine how long it would take now without someone to be right there beside me doing it with.
Yeah.
So my next one, it's sort of like your Rayman Legends one. This is the one that was inevitable to come up. Fall Guys.
Yes. Yeah.
I might have won 5 trophies or 5 games in a row. We'll never know. I guess I didn't.
Yeah.
But if I could sue the folks over there and say, give me this trophy because I won 5 games.
What is the name of that developer? Metatonic? It's something like that. I know it's an M.
Pentatonics.
Yep. the acapella group.
Exactly. I don't know.
But yeah, it's
Mediatonic. I believe that's what it is.
That's it.
But it's under the. It was revealed at like a Devolver.
It's a Devolver published game. Okay. Yeah. But
great game.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
Bitterly cruel trophy.
Yeah. So the trophy, we've told the story of it, but if you didn't hear last week's episode or whenever that was, it's basically win 5 games in a row in a battle royale, which, as many hours I have in assorted battle royales, I've never even gotten close to. So
I'm gonna do the math. Tell your next story. I'm gonna do the math. Okay. Just to say, because it's 60 players in a game of Fall Guys, I think.
Oh, so you're going to calculate the odds?
Yeah, I'm just going to do 1 times 60 5 times.
Right.
Or 1 divided by 60.
Yeah. So, my next one is a similar one. I'll get through the boring one. It's Welcome to the Winner's Circle, which is win an online game, doesn't sound that hard, in Jeopardy on PS3. And I've tried multiple times, because the trophy list is not hard outside of that, to get a random game going. I know this is probably something where I just need to find somebody who has the game. We both click go online at the same time. I don't even know if servers are still up for that game anymore, but I always get so heartbroken by a game with good trophies, except for the online one, and then when you play it so far removed, you just can't get it, and it's just gone.
Hang on, I wish I'd have listened closer to what you just said instead of doing my stupid math. This is Jeopardy on what?
PS3.
And the trophy was to do what?
Win one online game.
And what was difficult about it?
Just that you can't find anybody playing it.
Do you think you could have... Surely. Wait.
Oh, I could have won.
There's nobody playing Jeopardy on PS3?
No.
That's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
When were you going for this trophy?
Like 2 years ago?
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man. Do they have this game on PS4? I'll do it right now.
I don't know, but I think it would be a different trophy list because it's the PS3 version.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You can still buy it, though. PlayStation Store's still open.
Also, if you just went strictly by the odds and said you had a 1 in 60 chance.
Yes.
1.286 times 10 to the negative 9th power is the odds of just doing that if you had perfectly even odds.
Yes. Which means obviously it would never happen.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm better than some of the 4-year-olds that are out there playing Fall Guys, so I have better odds than average.
Yeah.
But, it's still stupid difficult. All right. My next one, this is not a singular trophy.
Okay.
This is a trophy that is sort of consistent across a series of games.
Oh, okay.
And I've never pursued it in any of them, both because I didn't think it was worth my time and because it's not how I like to play these games.
Okay.
But it's all of the Dark Souls games, because I don't have the platinum in any of the Dark Souls games.
Yes.
And mostly that's because I have not gone out and collected all of the different spells.
Oh,
all the pyromancies, all the sorceries, rings. All the miracles, all the rings, like all these different things. Because I have never played one of those games with a magic build, like ever. I'm always, usually if I can help it, I've got a weapon in both hands that's small and light, so I can just be slashing and gashing all over the place.
Slashing and gashing.
That's what I'm trying to do.
It's good.
But I will play with a shield if I have to, but I've never once even wielded a spell in one of my hands for a significant period of time. It's just not how I play those games. So even like in Dark Souls 3, which is the one that I am closest to the platinum in, but will still probably never get because I don't ever want to go hunt for all these things.
Right.
Like there's multiple vendors that are in the hub world and they're just like, yeah, I'll teach you this. Yeah, I'll teach you that. Like, but then I don't want to go out into the world. And really, if I'm going to play a playthrough, I guess, of one of these games this way, what's the point in going out and hunting all these if I'm still going to be having a sword in my hand?
Right,
the whole time?
Never use them. Yeah.
Like, it just seems to defeat the purpose of how I want to play those games. So, both for my own sanity, and for just not wanting to invest so much ridiculous time, I'm just not ever going to try.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days when Souls games suddenly go out of style and they're not making them anymore, and I'm just so desperate to play a Souls game that I'm like, I need to mix it up.
Right.
But until such time, I will not be doing that.
That was kind of the off-putting thing for me with Demon's Souls, where I was going toward the trophies of that game, and I think I could still get that platinum if I wanted to, but just the amount of, like, you have to do this specific trigger at this specific time and then bring this item to this guy, and it's like, it's a lot of backtracking in a type of game I don't want to do backtracking in, and so it's sort of off-putting. My next one is assorted trophies in one game. This is Erica, which is the FMV game, full motion video. It was debuted at a PlayStation. at one of the PlayStation conferences. I don't know if it was E3 or like a Direct or whatever, but
say this rings a bell.
So this is the game. It's like a movie,
sure,
being an FMV, and it's the lady where there's like she goes like somebody's kind of stalking her kind of thing, and then she has to go to this building with this cop, and there's a bunch of choices you can make to sort of find out what's going on.
Okay.
Very good game. Really like it a lot. The problem I have with it isn't in one specific trophy. So the way this game is structured, it's like a choose your own adventure thing, right? Like that's basically the only gameplay there is you make a story decision. There's some things you can like go to different rooms, pick up different things, and that'll affect what story options you get. None of those are particularly hard, except for this game is structured where trophies don't pop until you complete the game. So
what? How does that work?
I guess whatever trigger there is in the game to give you the trophy doesn't happen because it's just basically a movie.
Sure.
Doesn't happen until the credits roll. And so you could get like 5 trophies in one credit roll, but you don't know if you've completed the thing you need to without having played the entire game through. And the entire game's like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
So, but a lot of these trophies are, if there are 4 paths, it's pick one of each path. So you have to play through it 4 or 5 times, and then suddenly it's a lot of time invested.
And for a game that is a movie, that does sound more repetitive than
yes,
usual.
Yeah. And I really like the game. There are like 6 endings, and I got most of those. But then there were several just little things you could do to interact with some characters, and that was to the point where I was like, I don't want to play this game 15 times.
Sure.
But I imagine that's going to be a game that I pick up, do a couple of the trophies, and then delete it for a while, re-download it, do 1 or 2 runs, and then I'll eventually get it. But I just don't like that structure of not knowing until you get to the credits, and then once you got the credits, you don't get any trophy pops, and it's like, well, that was a waste of my time.
Yeah. All right, Tanner, my next one, for a game that I love, and it's just unfortunate that not enough other people love it, so that I can't get these stupid online trophies. But Tricky Towers.
Oh, yeah.
There are some trophies in that game that are very much like win X type of online game with certain conditions, win a certain number, that are just lost to time forever for me. As much as I love that game, and
dude, I will grind them out with you if you want to get them.
One of these, I mean, I'll keep that game around forever because I really just love the gameplay of it. And we'll see, just how tough it would be, and see if there's anybody remotely out there still that's match makeable.
Right.
Gosh, some of them are even hard within the context of being online.
Sure,
like certain conditions. Like there's one thing that's called drop the moon.
Okay.
I still don't really understand how to drop the moon.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I'm pretty sure you have to do it in like an online match or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But it sucks to have a game that you really love and think that I have to be in the top 0.2% of like Tricky Towers fans. I love that game.
It's so good.
And to not have the platinum. Because what I was going to mention this a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Because I was looking, I saw you perusing your trophies a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
You have 61 platinums.
Okay.
I have 27.
Okay.
I think our approach to trophies, though, is slightly different.
Sure, yeah.
You're a little bit more of just a broad collector. You just want as many trophies as you can get.
Yes.
I like to have as many trophies as I can get, but I'm not going to go for the super easy platinum.
Sure.
Like the ones that, like the game where you tap the egg 1,000 times or whatever.
My name is Mayo.
Right.
The Mayo game.
Mayo, yeah.
Which is a derivative of egg, so you're good.
True. Aioli.
Yeah. Why did you phoneticize the word aioli so much?
Because technically mayo is just an aioli. Aioli is a thing that's derivative of the egg.
Yes. But mayo
teasing our potential
is also a derivative of the egg.
I totally lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You like collecting trophies.
When I get a platinum trophy, the motivation for me is I want to be able to have something in my quote unquote hand that shows I am an expert at this game. I know this game inside and out.
Right.
I was committed enough to get the platinum.
Yeah.
So that's why I got it. I'm not getting it just to boost my overall trophy score.
Sure.
I'm getting it because I love or want to be known for loving this one particular game.
Right. I'm kind of a mix of both. Yeah. I like this. It depends on what mood I'm in.
Sure.
I do like the sort of $2-3 silly little game that has an easy platinum kind of game. But there have been games like that I bought and have not enjoyed the game enough where I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not opposed to my Toy Story Mania on PlayStation
and I don't
now or whatever.
Like, it's cool for anyone who wants to grind that much just at their trophy level.
Yeah, that being said, there are a lot of times the other big motivator for me is, am I loving this game enough to go after the platinum?
And like, I feel like most people are like that. Like, and obviously, I mean, some people would just get platinums almost inadvertently because they love a game so much.
Right.
And they'll almost have all the trophies.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
Just say, hey, there's one trophy left. I might as well go get it.
Yeah, like the Rocket League Platinum is a good example. Yeah. It's like, we just got that.
Because I almost put that on my list, actually.
I did too, but there's not one singular trophy.
The one for me was I did do the thing where like I took a rubber band.
Yep.
And like...
The drive 50 kilometers?
Yeah, and just had it going in a circle. Now, if I thought critically, I 100% would have just had that trophy organically by now.
Same, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
But I just wanted that platinum.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good example.
Right.
So I just talked about Tricky Towers, so you're up next.
Yes. 2 left on the bad, I believe. We've done 6 each, so...
I just have 1 left on the bad.
Right, so your last one and my last one.
Yes.
But I have this one.
Oh, gotcha.
The next one is also a trophy you have, but it was in a game that I enjoyed, but not enjoyed enough after having seen you and Andrew both grind for this trophy.
What's this going to be?
Benevolent Leader.
That's also on my proudest trophy moments.
Which is reach maximum happiness in a settlement in Fallout 4. Yep. I guess we'll save that until...
In a large settlement, to be specific.
That's true, yeah. So basically Fallout 4 had this new to the series thing where you can kind of manage little settlements and build upgrades for them and bring people in and all this kind of stuff. It seemed like I didn't get far enough in the trophy hunt of that game to get to that point where I needed to do it.
Yeah.
But just watching you both like be upset about it, not upset, but just like be annoyed by it.
Yeah, more
it was
like confounded by it.
Right.
It was so weird to, and I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah. Just watching you both do that, I was like, all right, I don't need to get anywhere near this trophy, and I'm not going to go for the plat. But maybe I could now. I think they've patched it, made it
I'm
easier,
sure they
probably.
made it at least somewhat easier.
Clearer, maybe.
Because it was, I was like Googling stuff. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
My last negative trophy story, my last lost trophy.
Yeah.
That I want to talk about. There's some that I'm like I almost put the Witness on here, but like I'm never gonna go. I don't really care to get the Witness platinum just because I know I'll never get, like, there's no chance.
Yeah.
But a game that was near and dear to my heart, that there's this one trophy that is keeping me from the platinum, even though there are other trophies I haven't gotten. But it's sort of like when you know you're not going to get one, you're not necessarily motivated to go get the other ones that you don't already have.
That's maybe Tomb Raider, yeah.
And the game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Oh.
So Call of Duty 4.
Yeah.
When they brought it back. This is games from 2009, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story. Not really. The last mission is completely disconnected from the rest of the story.
Okay.
But the last mission in Call of Duty 4 is you basically are inside of a plane.
Yes.
There's a diplomat or someone that's taken hostage by all these, like, mercenaries on the plane.
Right.
You have 2 minutes to make your way through, extract the hostage, blah, 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 blah. The last, I think the hardest trophy in Modern Warfare is complete that mission on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
Now, to complete that mission on the hardest difficulty in isolation would not be that hard. But to do it in 2 minutes is insane.
Yeah, that's so fast.
Because I've gotten, I think, all the other mission trophies. In that game, you get a trophy for completing every single mission on Veteran.
Right.
It's a great, like, if you're looking to grind or build your trophy level, it's like a silver trophy for every mission. It's great. But for that particular mission, like, in every other mission, you can die over and over and over again, but as long as you get to the next checkpoint, you're still going, blah, blah, blah. Right. In this game, there's no in this mission, there's no checkpoints because it's so small.
Yeah.
And if you run out in the middle of an alley on this plane, you're going to die.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how people could beat this in 2 minutes. I've seen people do it, like, playthroughs of it. It's ridiculously impressive. So I'm like, kudos to you. It would take an insane stroke of luck for me to ever beat it in 2 minutes.
I think the reason I was familiar with this, I think Achievement Hunter, one of their earliest videos, is about this achievement, like on the original.
I can believe that
because I've seen this. I've seen the airplane, the inside of it, the cabin and stuff.
It's a great mission. It's just so hard.
Yeah, that sounds insanely difficult. My last one for the quote unquote bad trophies is Hercules from the game from the game Super Hot, which is beat all challenges. Now, if you haven't played Super Hot, again, challenges are very vague. That can be completely different depending on the game. But Super Hot is basically, there's probably 15 levels in that game, maybe 20. It's not that long of a game, but The challenges are variations of the way you can play the game, and you play through the entire game again under the challenge circumstance.
Oh.
So it's like, in this challenge, you can only use the katana. In this challenge, the graphics are different and you're slower. In this challenge, you have to speedrun the levels. In this challenge, blah, 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 blah.
Interesting.
And there, I think, are like 20-something challenges. So that means you have to replay the game with added difficulty from a lot of these challenges 20-something times. And that's not even counting the other trophies from Super Hot, which are basically speedrun the level and get the fastest time on every level, beat the developer time, which just seems really bad. And as someone who doesn't love speedrunning levels in general, it just seems awful.
Having only played a little bit, like the first 10 to 15 levels or so.
Yeah.
About how many levels are there in Super Hot? Do you have like a ballpark idea?
So I guess it's more than 15. 20-ish, I want to say. There aren't that many.
Okay.
But still, it's a
Maybe
lot to play
as
through.
much as I thought then.
I'm going to look up the number of levels because there's a small amount. Let me see here.
Yeah, because I felt like things were still getting introduced to me mechanic-wise.
Never mind, there are 34.
Okay. So yeah, I probably didn't get even halfway through in terms of stages.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll go back to it per se. I appreciate it's cool.
It's a great game. I enjoyed it a lot.
But
that trophy's bad.
Sign me out for that one.
Yeah.
Let's flip over to some fun, happy stories.
Yay!
My proudest trophy moments.
Also, I got reminded of one, so I'm going to write it down.
Go right ahead. I'll tell you about my first one. It's an obvious one. It's cheap. It's easy. But the Bloodborne Platinum.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And the specific trophy or trophies that I would want to allude to for this one are the Chalice Dungeon trophies.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Because you can beat Bloodborne proper and feel incredibly accomplished for beating an incredibly difficult game. But you kind of haven't seen anything yet, in a way.
Right.
If you've never ventured into the Chalice Dungeons.
Yeah.
Which are much more, they're randomly generated every time you generate one, so it's a completely different experience from person to person.
Yep.
Some of the hardest bosses are in the Chalice Dungeon specifically. I think maybe the singular hardest boss in the whole game, which is the amygdala in the, forget the cursed dungeon or whatever. I forget the word that they used.
Yeah.
But basically your health is cut in half. So if the amygdala hits you once, you're dead.
You're dead, yeah.
Unless you have an insane health bar to begin with.
God, that fight's crazy.
Yeah, that fight and just the whole sequence, but the good thing about that was if you love the Soulsborne type games and you beat Bloodborne, you're like that was. If you don't say that's amazing, I don't know what's wrong with you.
It may not be for everyone, but
I know.
If you get to the point of beating it, I was gonna say if you get to the point of beating it, you probably did like it. Yeah. I think people who aren't into that game wouldn't finish it.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if you at least weren't having some kind of fun and got all the way to the end.
Yeah.
But then there's pretty much a whole nother game's worth of content just waiting for you.
For real.
It's really fun and really good for continuing to scratch that itch, but it is also incredibly difficult. So you're more or less beating two Souls type games in one if you're in the pursuit of this platinum. So I'm not going to talk about the little bit of the save games and stuff to beat get the multiple endings that might have been a little cheap,
cheesy.
I could beat that game again if I had to, so I didn't feel too guilty about it.
No.
But you're not cheesing those Chalice Dungeons.
No, not at all.
Kudos to everyone else who has that trophy, because it's a fun and a hard one.
As do I. Also, shout out to, I think it's a version of Parl that you fight in the Chalice Dungeon. It's one of the dog-like creatures
is in there.
That's really hard. Arguably as hard as the amygdala, or at least I struggled as much with it. Because I think the amygdala, because I knew what I was in for from you, I was like, oh, okay, I know what to do here. All right, my first one, a trophy I hadn't thought about until today in probably 5 years, which is a trophy from Little Big Planet 1, just called Play, because the tagline was Play, Create, Share. And it's complete all levels without dying. Now
it's just called Play?
Yeah, well, because the tagline of Little Big Planet was Play, Create, Share.
Sure.
So there was a Play trophy for doing the hardest thing in Play, Create for the hardest thing in Create, Share for the the most difficult.
Whatever. Yeah.
So that Little Big Planet has a cool system where you get extra collectibles for acing a level, and that's just getting through it without dying. Now this may not be that hard now, but when I was 13 or however old I was when I was playing this game, I felt like a god once I had aced those because like the last few levels are decently difficult for a platformer. I mean, they're not like Celeste level or anything, but like I was so proud of myself having aced it all because I just wanted all the collectibles and shit. And a heartbreaking story, way back in the day, in order to save PS3 save storage, you could go through and delete the game, obviously, but then you could delete the like data on your console, and that didn't delete save data in most games.
Okay.
But for some reason in Little Big Planet it did. Oh. And I got rid of both my Little Big Planet 1 and 2 data files.
That's awful.
And so I have nothing anymore. It would be fun to go back. I would love to stream it if you could stream easily from the PS3, but it's really hard to do. So.
All right, my next one. I promise I won't go any further into this developer/series of games, but I have to also give a nod to the Sekiro Platinum.
Yeah.
And namely, the part in Sekiro, there are two particular trophies that I wanted to shout out. One of which is just beating the final boss. And I guess I won't spoil too much about it, but if you know anything about Sekiro, like, not only is it an incredibly cool boss, but like something about the cinematicness of like the revealing of this boss, and how much what you've learned throughout the game almost makes it that much harder.
Yeah, it's fucking hard.
And then on top of the absolutely ridiculousness of the 3-phase, onslaught that you're about to go through, beating Sekiro is one of the biggest achievements in games for anyone who's ever done it.
Agreed. Yeah,
like it's so hard.
How many hours did that fight take you, do you think?
I don't know, because the strategy that I use is, I don't want to call it a cheese, but it's more of like, it's very much like a wait and bait about as much
that's
as
how
possible.
you have to do that fight.
And you kind of have to, unless you're an absolute parry god. Like, you have to sort of bait certain attacks and then respond in a certain way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It took me maybe 8 to 10 hours of just that fight.
It took me 3 streams, and I was probably streaming the gameplay itself probably 4 to 5 hours at that time. So
no, it's ridiculous.
12-ish hours to beat him.
But the additional thing in Sekiro was there is a trophy for unlocking all of the sort of techniques and all the additional upgrades. To do this requires a pretty significant grind for XP.
I was going to say, I still haven't done this.
It takes a long time. That's one of those that it's definitely in my top 5 longest grinds just for like a trophy.
Yeah.
And there's one specific little area that's in the end game of the game where there are several enemies in a quick little stretch where you can respawn, kill those enemies stealthily pretty quick, go back, respawn, and just do that over and over again.
Yeah.
And I did that countless numbers of times to get enough. And it sucks because I'm unlocking techniques that I'm never going to actually use.
Right.
But just for the trophy's sake, that I was willing to do it because I love that game.
Yeah.
And I would have felt guilty almost to beat the game and say, well, that was harder than this is ever going to be, so I might as well do this too.
Yeah. Makes sense. My next one, I'm going to kind of loop 2 together here, which is Hurry Up, finish the game in under 90 minutes in Shovel Knight, and Superluminal, beat the game in under 30 minutes in Superluminal. So both of these are speedrun trophies.
Gosh, that sounds awful.
So I adore Shovel Knight. I've talked about that game ad nauseum at this point. And one of the last trophies is actually one of the rarest trophies I have. Probably the rarest, like, significant trophy I have. Because I found out on PSN profiles, the rarest trophy I have is an NBA 2K trophy that's just, like, not that hard. But people don't go after those trophies. But obviously, the type of people to play Shovel Knight are way more trophy enthusiasts on average. But this trophy, I remember streaming it. It was one of my earliest streams. This was like way back when I was living with my mom. And I did 2 different runs. I did my first run and got in about like an hour 55, 2 hours, something like that. I watched a speed run, and I also I want to say somebody in chat was like at least knew some of the speedrun strats and was like kind of guiding me through it. My second run, I somehow did it in 2 runs, which is impressive in its own right. Granted, this was probably my 5th or 6th run through the game. I got it in an hour 29:29. I remember that time vividly, and that was just like a very cool takeaway. And then Superluminal was probably less hard than Shovel Knight speedrun, because beat the game under 30 minutes, and that game's a puzzle game. So once you know the puzzles, but it's just, it's just a matter of like solving them quickly. There's not a lot of time for leeway there. I probably did 5 or 6 runs that were in the 30-minute range, but not under 30 minutes. So I had to have like basically the perfect run. For me, obviously speedrunners get it like 12 minutes, whatever. But for me, it was great. And again, someone in the Twitch community of Superluminal came through and was like, oh, you should do this to get through this room you're struggling with. You should do this. And like, here, watch this clip. This is how speedrunners do it. And it was really cool. Both of those things are very community-based, but I enjoyed those trophies a lot, and it made me feel really cool having done them.
There's 0% chance I could ever beat Shovel Knight in under an hour now. There's 0% chance.
You could do it. It's not that hard. I mean, it's hard, but it's like, if you focus on it, I think you could do it. Another one of the Shovel Knight trophies I didn't include, which was beat the game without dying. That one was...
Probably couldn't do that either.
Now, granted, there is a little bit of a cheese where you can create a save after completing a level without dying, and then if you die in the next level, you just reload the save.
Okay.
Which I think is what I did, but I would probably have still gone for that trophy, even if he had to do it straight up. I love that game.
Tanner, here's a game that I love that very few people do.
Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists, Link Evolution.
They keep making them, so you got to think somebody's playing
Well,
them.
they've only made 2 of them.
Oh, well.
And this one is really just an iteration on the first one.
Okay, fair enough.
But, so, there's a trophy in this game for win all the Duelist challenges. Mm-hmm. Now, that is meaningless without the context of Yu-Gi-Oh! In this game, there are 6 different arcs that are basically ripped off. They're straight from the anime. You're playing the anime, more or less.
Yeah.
Now, every character that you encounter in these arcs has their own duelist challenge.
Okay.
Every character. Not every duel that you play.
Oh, wow.
But every character that you play as or that you play against has a challenge.
Okay.
I would say there are probably 30 to 40 in each arc.
Jesus.
So somewhere between like 150 and 200 total
Holy
challenges.
Hell.
Now, when you're playing these challenges, you're not playing the deck that they use in the anime. You're playing some deck that was created by the developer in the same sort of visual style of like the person that it's, represented, or the same kind of type of monsters they like to use.
Yeah.
But cranked up with the mechanics of the most recent arcs of the show.
Oh.
Arcs that I don't understand. I'm not like a modern Yu-Gi-Oh fan.
Right.
I was an old school, like through Yu-Gi-Oh GX and a little bit into 5Ds, and 5Ds is where I fell off for anyone who knows about Yu-Gi-Oh. So I was not even familiar with the tactics of more recent. I was using an outdated deck, outdated strategies.
Jeez.
Like I was using cards that I knew.
Right.
And the amount of times that it took me, because like there were times where like they do this thing called a pendulum summon, which is one of the most recent things that you could do in like the most recent series.
Iteration, yeah.
Where basically they play 2 cards down in 2 different turns, and then all of a sudden on the game they would both like levitate. Everything in between those 2 cards would appear, and they would just summon 5 monsters at one time.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to do about that?
Yeah.
Other than learn it, which I chose not to do.
Beautiful.
I chose to do trial and error over and over again with my old outdated deck.
Nice.
Magic Cylinder always came in handy. All the classic trap cards, Mirror Force, all that sort of thing.
Jar of Greed.
Jar of Greed banned.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The banned cards from like the actual card game are banned in the game as well.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, there's certain limitations on you, but
yeah,
took a lot of times, a lot of effort, a lot of learning characters that I've never seen before, and just to the makers of the show, keep it simple, stupid. Like, go back to the basics if you can. Probably too late. You probably opened Pandora's box at this point.
Yeah. My next one, 2 different trophies in one of the best like indie games in the past few years, in my opinion. Return of the Obra Dinn. 2 of them. One of them just a really good trophy. The other one pretty funny. So the setup of Return of the Obra Dinn is you are going to investigate this ship, and you're like this sort of, I don't even know what to describe it, what you are. You work for like the insurance company that they're basically trying to figure out what happened to this ship, but they give you this special device where if you find like a corpse or something on the boat, because the boat came back to dock with no one on it.
Right.
If you find like a blood stain or any remnant of like someone, you can use this stopwatch to go back and see the immediate time when they died.
Okay.
So that's the main mechanic, but you don't know who anyone is, and you don't know, like, it's a really awesome detective game where you have a notebook and you have like the picture of the entire crew, but you don't know who any of this crew is. And you have to figure out through dialogue they say in these dying moments and roles that they may have and other clues on the ship who everyone is.
Yeah.
And through figuring out who everyone is, you can figure out who killed people, who escaped, all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. An amazing, amazing game. So one of the trophies is to basically solve all of the murders, because you can get off the ship with X amount solved. You don't have to solve every one of them. But one of them is to 100% it. That was a really fun journey. I played it on PC. And then when it finally came out on PlayStation, I had forgotten enough that I got to go back and experience it again. And that's when I streamed it and I platinumed it. But the other trophy that I think is really funny, the first person you find dead is the captain. Mm-hmm. And one of the trophies is to accuse the captain of having killed everyone. And so it's just like, what matter did they kill them by? Shot them, stabbed them, whatever. And it's the captain. You put that in every log, and it's just called the captain did it, which is a really fun little trope, and it made me laugh. So shout out to that trophy. Great platinum.
It's not the butler. That would have been the easier trope to go with.
That's true.
My next 3 are going to be quick, and then I have the bonus one that I'll talk about. But
okay.
The next one is just the platinum in Skyrim. And the only reason I'm including this, it's not for any particular trophy in Skyrim that was uniquely hard. Mm-hmm. It's only due to the fact that I played Skyrim for hundreds of hours on the Xbox 360 when it came out.
Gotcha, yeah.
I invested about as much time as you would ever want to invest in that game originally.
Sure.
But then it got, ported to PS4.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I have it in me to do all of this again?
Yeah.
And I did. Like I love that game to the ends of the earth, and it's deep and enriching of a world as that is. There are tons of not semi-hard trophies. A lot of just get to the max levels and stuff.
Sure.
And join every guild and do all the stories. So you have to play through it at least twice. But I did it, and just because I wanted to honor my commitment that I had to that game before,
right,
by getting the platinum.
Yeah, if they ever remastered Fallout 3, I would probably do the same. Okay, I've got a few left, so I might go fast as well. A Toe into Madness, which is a Doom trophy, a game I got a platinum in.
I was going to say, never heard of it, but I thought that was the game.
The trophy, I want to just applaud them for this specific trophy. It's not one of the harder trophies, but it is pretty difficult. It's a Toe into Madness. Complete the first level on Ultra Nightmare. Ooh. The game does not ask you to complete anything else on Ultra Nightmare.
That's awesome.
It's just, hey, try it out and make it through the first level. And that's still pretty hard. Like, it took me probably a couple hours to do it in a level that can be beaten in like 10 minutes. But I love the way they phrased it, and I love the way that the only qualification of trying the harder difficulty is just beat the first level. You don't have to beat the whole game, because Ultra Nightmare is permadeath. So if you die at all, you reset from the very beginning. So
I like that. That is a good trophy.
I desperately have to pee, so vamp.
Okay. So my next trophy is the Fallout 4, so I guess that's what I'll talk about. So the trophy, I can't remember what it's called. It's like Community Organizer or something to that effect. The outline of the trophy is reach maximum happiness in a large settlement. And I put a little tagline on my description here for this trophy, and all I said was, my little alleyway community full of plants. I'm not 100% sure it was plants, but to give you sort of an outline of why I said that. So I picked a community area in the middle of like the downtown, the biggest city in Fallout 4, and decided to build my little settlement there because it was easier, I think, to attract people because there were already a lot of people around. And basically I walled it off on either end, filled it up with all the amenities these people could possibly need, was providing them all the food, all the water, everything necessary to keep them happy. Now, at the time that this trophy was perplexing a lot of people, people were all like, what are the little things it would take? You can get like 90% happiness. You can get up in the 90s. But how can you crack 100% happiness, basically? And it just seemed like it was the superfluous stuff that wasn't really necessary, but little things that you could add to sort of decorate the area, which I'm pretty sure for me entailed putting a house plant pretty much every like 4 or 5 feet of this little community. I probably had 60 to 70 house plants just scattered around, and I knew that would be a good line for me to say for Tanner to re-entry with talking about Fallout, because I heard most of it. So I don't know why that was the thing that put me over the edge for that trophy.
Was just the houseplants?
It was just like, you can make people incredibly happy, but how do you get them over the top? Fill the entire place with as many houseplants as possible.
Yeah.
And wait. And eventually, I don't even know if that was necessarily the thing that did it, but that's the thing that did it for me.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to officially congratulate myself on, I believe, what is the first ever double tapped P break.
It was. Honestly, I was thinking about doing it myself, but I'm persistent.
You sure? You can go now.
No,
I can vamp.
No.
All right.
I don't get up during movies. Like I wait till the end.
I had to pee.
I'm committed.
I drink those beers quickly. But talking about the superfluity?
Superfluousness?
Yes. Of that trophy. I think that trophy would be a lot easier now. I'm sure people have found tried and true methods, but the time you were playing it, I remember it was sort of just like a quagmire of like, what the hell do we have to do?
Yeah.
So kudos to you for getting that one. And shout out to the houseplants. So my next one, maybe one of the hardest trophies I have, which is called Thanks for Playing, which is a great name.
Yeah.
It's complete all the seasides in Celeste. So Celeste, legendarily a great platformer, pretty difficult, can become very difficult with the B-sides, which are sort of the bonus levels, and then the C-sides, which are the even more difficult extractions from the B-side. So it's like the regular game's pretty hard, the B-sides are very hard, the C-sides are incredibly hard, but the C-sides are very short. So it's like, if you can learn just this 30 seconds of gameplay, you'll make it. But when I say it's a hard 30 seconds, it is a hard 30 seconds. Specifically because the C-side, like the B-sides are just building on all the normal stuff you learned in the original game, but making them harder. The C-sides make you learn basically speedrun techniques. Like there are certain that game is very well made in the regard that there is some really advanced movement. Mm-hmm. And in order to complete the C-sides, you have to learn the advanced movement, which is like, it would be like learning the really difficult combos in a fighting game, right? Like it's something very specific, very precise, takes exact timing, and having to learn those is so freaking hard, but a really proud platinum in my discography, I guess.
Yeah. All right. My last one before my little bonus,
mm-hmm.
and as we alluded to earlier, was the Tomb Raider, reach level 16 multiplayer. And as I sort of talked about before, me and our friend Andrew pretty much sat beside each other. And the thing with Tomb Raider is that you can play private matches.
Yeah.
And actually it levels up your overall multiplayer level.
Yeah.
So me and him just sat there back and forth, killing each other once, as quickly as physically possible.
Yeah.
For hours and hours on end. For a few weeks,
yeah,
to grind up enough XP to reach that max level. It was not worth it.
Fair enough.
At least we have this cool little platinum to look back on.
That's true. Okay, my last few here. One of them, Practice Makes Perfect from Crash 1 Remastered, earned 26 golden relics, which is to do the time trials of that game, basically speedrun each level. One of my favorite moments on stream was me beating the very hard last level of Crash 1, or next to last level, the non-boss fight level, where you're ascending sort of that castle from the outside. Very hard platforming level, and in order to do it fast, you have to do it in one life, and all that stuff. I had to do that for every level in Crash 1. If you've played Crash 1, Crash 1 gets fucking hard for a 3D platformer. Like everybody knows about the Icy Bridge level, where you can run on the ropes, but even that doesn't help you in the speedrun. Like that. Those trophies, I'm still surprised at myself that I got it. Another one of those, Beat the Devil at His Own Game, which is complete Cuphead on Expert, which is another very, very hard trophy that I have. Another thing that I completed on stream. What's funny is the hardest thing in that wasn't a boss fight, but one of the platforming run and gun levels. That one was so hard to get through on Expert because there were so many projectiles and you had so little health, and like you take 3 hits and you're dead, and it's like a really long level.
Yeah.
My other two, Get a Life, which is a great name for a trophy. It's to get A+ on every level in Hotline Miami. Now, this is one I talk about a lot, but this was probably a trophy I was grinding while you all were grinding that Tomb Raider trophy.
Sounds about right. Because
I remember that being around the time when we were in the dorm in college, and I remember vividly playing Hotline Miami. I got this platinum on Vita, and it was the perfect Vita game. I got several platinums on Vita. Between that, Severed was another great one on Vita. I think I played most of Guacamelee on Vita, maybe. Like, I played a lot of really great games on Vita. The last one, before your bonus one, is Challenge, which is just called Complete a Certain Challenge, and it's in The Witness, which is the trophy you alluded to. So, in The Witness, there are, it's a puzzle game. There are lots of little puzzles that are fantastically designed. I love the design of the puzzles in that game. But in order to unlock this last challenge, you have to do every puzzle. And I don't know how much you know about these in The Witness, but they're not only... So the way The Witness is constructed, each puzzle, for lack of a better term, is kind of like a maze. Not only are there are little screens you can find everywhere that have all these mazes on them. In the overworld itself, there are mazes. Yeah. So like you can go stand on a high point and suddenly you'll start to see the path and connect the dots there. So you have to do every single puzzle in the game, and that unlocks this thing in this mountain in the center of the game called the Challenge, which is a timed randomized thing. For everything else in The Witness, you can look up a guide. If you get stuck, you can be like, all right, what's the actual solution? For this, you're on your own. Yeah. And I found a little exploit that gives you a little bit more time. If you finish solving one of the puzzles as time expires exactly, then you get unlimited time to do the rest. But it's such a hard thing to even get to that point. It's so hard. So it's just a little glitch with the timing where if you time your finishing your puzzle exactly as the time runs out, then you get unlimited time, which is how I ended up doing it. But still incredibly hard to even get to the puzzle that you can get unlimited time on in the amount of time.
I wonder if they've patched that out.
I don't know.
Might have to investigate.
Not that long ago. So.
Still probably wouldn't be able to do it, but we'll see.
I believe in you.
So my last little bonus... because I have not yet gotten the Returnal Platinum. Yes. But I did want to tell my little bit of a saga with Scout Log number 9. So Returnal's equivalent of like audio diaries or something to that effect. Yeah. These things called Scout Logs. Yeah. Where you're finding the remnants of other Celines throughout the world, and she sort of is giving you a little backdrop of different things. They're all talking about different things. Yeah. One of them I had to look up because I was like, what are the odds that this is like, is anyone else having this problem? Right. But I couldn't find this one particular... And this is in the first biome. So I was like, hey, I'm having trouble getting the first biome survey completed. Yeah. And so a little scroll in there, people are like, I can't find Scout Log 9 and Scout Log 10, a lot of people were complaining about too. Okay. I had already found Scout Log 10. Yeah. Don't really know how that happened, but it's so random that you never know. Yeah. But most people were like, Scout Log 9 is... There's something up with Scout Log 9.
Interesting.
People are like, I have done over 100 runs of the first biome and have not found Scout Log 9.
Holy shit.
And I was like, what is it? And people were speculating because Scout Log 9 talks a little bit about parasites, which is one of the mechanics of the game. Yeah. People were theorizing, maybe you have to find every single parasite in Biome 1. Oh my God. And then go open a side door and then it'll be in there. Yeah. People were thinking that was maybe it. But there were videos of people finding it that didn't have that disproved that. Right. So there were a lot of theories floating around. But one of the theories, and the one that I found latest in my hunt, because I had probably done 15 or so consecutive runs of Biome 1. Yeah. When that was the only thing that I was lacking and I couldn't find it. Right. But there was a theory that in the in-game, that once you had beaten everything, that it was bugged and that it wouldn't spawn. So that's why people, turns out, were just restarting the game wholesale.
Jesus.
Now, turns out, thank God, that was not the case. Okay. It took me a couple more runs, and then I just randomly stumble into this blue room that I'm like, this doesn't look familiar, which is my immediate, like, that's your green light to know that if there's maybe a collectible in here that I have not found. Right. And I look over and I see there's just a little white sort of beacon. Yeah. And I was just like, thank God when I saw it. Yeah. But then I had the brief moment of panic, which is like, please don't let this be one of the bugged trophies. Right. Because I do not want to do this again. Yeah. And I went over, trophy for this one popped immediately. So I was like, nice. Finally was able to put that down and start speed running into the second biome to try to get everything that was left. So that's where I'm
You're currently just elatedly running through the aliens.
I haven't died in like, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours of play. Like, nice. I don't die anymore.
Nice. Like, hell yeah.
You certainly get to a point where I sort of know those rooms almost inside and out now, and there are certain randomness to like what enemies will spawn in a particular room. Sure. But there is one enemy that I want to talk about more when we get actually into the big deep dive. Yeah. That is initially was the most horrifying thing ever to see. And now I'm just clowning these dudes out like it's nothing.
Okay, have I seen it yet?
It was the one that it was in the second biome when you were seeing me play it. In the lead up in the second biome, there's always one enemy.
The sword guys?
No.
Oh.
The giant, like, tentacle guys.
Oh, yeah, the big squids.
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah.
You remember me seeing that when we were just like,
we were like, holy shit.
That?
Yeah, those aren't that bad.
It was those. But now I'm just like, I don't care. I'll fight anything.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last one. So
nice.
Hopefully we'll have a very positive updates from the Returnal front from both of us next week.
Yeah, I hope so.
But in the meantime, Tanner, do you have a recommendation?
I do. It's Console Wars. I didn't mean to name drop it earlier, but it just kind of came up.
Makes sense.
I've been reading that. I would not consider myself a voracious reader by any means. Kind of just takes the right book and me being in a mood to read. But it's been something I've been reading on the toilet. It's been honestly, it's been a really nice break from not looking at my phone or a screen because I do that a lot during my day. Really good read. Right now I just finished sort of the opening 4 or 5 chapters about this guy named Tom Kalinske, who was basically, I'm going to assume from the way the story is progressing, the guy in charge of making Sega a big thing in the lead up and like competing with Nintendo. Now we're shifting perspectives over to Nintendo in the part that I just got to. So it's a very good read. Again, as someone who doesn't read a lot of books, it's really easy to read. It's a page turner, as they say, because it's just so well written, and I love nonfiction so much. So any well written nonfiction, I'm all in on, and so that's what I've been doing.
You'll love to hear it.
Yeah.
For all the video game potential historians out there,
yeah,
probably a must read
for sure.
But for all the trophy hunters out there,
I'll
give you a very thematically appropriate recommendation. PowerPix.com.
Oh yeah, PowerPix is great.
PowerPix is by far, to me, if you're grinding for a trophy or looking to get a platinum, is the best website to go to. They lay it out for you in a very, sequential format. They tell you roughly how difficult it is on a scale of 1 to 10. They give you an estimate of how many hours it's going to take you, which I initially scoffed at for Returnal because I think their initial assessment was like it could take 70 to 100 hours.
I believe it.
I think I'm at like 60 right now. But like having beat the game in 20 hours, I was like, there's no way it's going to take me 50 more hours. Turns out it takes quite a while.
Yeah.
But for all these games, they're laying out, specific guides for every single trophy to the best of their ability.
Right.
So for anyone out there, if you're struggling, if you need a guide to find either just a particular trophy or you want a full guide on all the way to a platinum, I think PowerPix.com is the way to go.
I'm a big fan of PlayStation trophies too. I think
that's a good one as well.
PlayStationTrophies.org, I think, is their website.
I think they go into decent detail about particular trophies.
Yeah. I
like the overall sort of rundown that PowerPix
I like the roadmaps. Yeah, the roadmaps are really nice. So shout out to both of those websites.
Exactly. Shout out to all of our fellow trophy hunters out there. Hope you enjoyed it. We're just now coming up on, what is today? Oh, Tanner. We're less than 3 weeks away.
From E3?
Yeah, or we're right there. We're sitting on it.
We should address, I guess, that 2 weeks from now, there probably won't be an episode, I would assume.
And that will be the week before E3.
Yes.
So we'll be taking a break for our birthday weekends, which are 3
days apart. Yeah.
So we'll be taking a little bit of time off for that one. But you can only imagine we'll be back hot and heavy that upcoming weekend for E3 weekend proper.
It'll be very exciting.
And so we'll have one more episode, though, between now and then.
Just want to let people know that if there's a gap in the timeline, it's planned.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll see you next week at the least. But until then, we're tapping out.